Hello student. In today's lecture we are going to discuss the topic Pheophyceae. As we are going to discuss this Pheophyceae, we have already gone through the different classes of the algae, and in today's topic we are going to talk about the Pheophyceae. Now in before some lectures we have gone through the different types of algae like brown algae, yellow green algae, blue green algae. So in today's lecture we are talking about the Pheophyceae. This Pheophyceae is generally known as the brown algae. Now the color which is known as brown color appeared to this algae because of some parameters that we called pigment present in the algae, and that's why it is known as the brown algae. The color varies from brown to olive green. It is not actually a brown or direct we can say it is a dark brown. It is somewhat brown to olive green color appears due to the presence of the pigments in this particular algae which belongs to Pheophyceae. As we have gone through the yellow algae, then blue green algae. So this algae is nothing but the brown algae. Now this brown algae is due to the fucoxanthin. It is the main pigment, and that particular pigment is responsible for the brown color, that we called it as a fucoxanthin. They are mostly found in marine environments, or there are 1500 species of these brown algae, and which varies greatly in their size and shape. They are multicellular, and color depends on the ratio of chlorophyll and pigment fucoxanthin in that particular algae. They also contain, or they also known as the seaweeds, or most of the seaweeds are included in this particular algae. Some of the notable example of this particular Pheophyceae is Ectocarpus, Fucus, then Sargassum. These are the common or notable example of this Pheophyceae. Now as we talk about this Pheophyceae, it is having a particular habitat. Say for example, brown algae are mostly marine. They are found in cold waters along the coast. They are either free floating or found attached to the substratum. Both type of structures are observed in this. Ectocarpus is epiphytes. Fucus is found attached to the rocks, and Sargassum is the example of free floating brown algae. Now this is nothing but the habitat. So in habitat we can say that they are mostly marine. They observed as a free floating, or it is also observed as a attached to the substratum. Now when we talk about size and shape of this particular algae, the size and shape of brown algae vary in greatly, we can say it is having the variation. The size ranges from few centimeter to few inches, or sometimes it is also observed as 100 meters in the length. Ectocarpus is the simple filamentous alga, whereas giant kelp can reach up to 100 meter. Kelp forests represent great biodiversity. So this particular Pheophycean algae is having the great role in biodiversity. There will be a different numbers of, or different size and shapes of this particular algae is observed in the Pheophycean member. Now the structure of this algae is also having the variation, just like that size and shape. It is having the variation in shape. They are generally multicellular. So the filamentous algae are also observed in this particular Pheophycean member. The filamentous algae are branched. So branches are also observed, and it will varies in the length. The body of thallus, that is, they lack true roots, stem and leaves, so they form the thallus. They have root-like structure called holdfast for the attachment. So this holdfast is useful for the attachment, and the structure of holdfast varies in different species. In some it is a finger-like projection, in some it is very poorly developed. They do not take part in nutrition or water uptake like roots in plants. There is a small stalk present which is more likely stem. It is called stipe. So there is a presence of stipe which is a stem like structure, and it is having the hold fast. This hold fast is not useful for the absorption of nutrients and the water uptake. They are only made for the attachment of the algae to the substratum. Now some of the brown algae contain special gas-filled bladder called nematocyst. This nematocyst helps this algae for the floating, or it is also known as floating algae. They mostly present near the lamina, and it is helpful in the floating state of that particular algae. It provides buoyancy to algae and helps to keep the part of algae near the surface for the photosynthesis. So photosynthesis will increase due to the nematocyst. They are autotrophic and contain chlorophyll A and C. They also contain carotenoids and xanthophyll. So the majoritarily we can see the pigment A and C is present in this particular Pheophycean algae, and along with this A and C, chlorophyll A and C, they also contain carotenoids and xanthophyll. Now when we say the chloroplast is usually does not contain pyrenoids, but some species have pyrenoids in them. So pyrenoids is most important structure which is present, but it is generally absent. Food is stored in the form of complex carbohydrate. For example, it is in the form of mannitol. Laminarian is a polysaccharide of glucose. It is linear polymer and it is generally present as a reserve food material. Mannitol is a sugar, alcohol, and other than being carbon storage, it is also act as a osmoprotectant, antioxidant, and it protects them from harsh habitat. The cell wall is made up of two layers, outer gummy and which is made up of algin, and inner cellulose which provides strength. So when we talk about the cell wall, there will be two layers, one the gummy layer and another one is the cellulose. So these two cells or cell wall provides a protection, and it will also gives the strength to the algae. Now moving to the reproduction in Pheophyceae. This reproduction is the most important characteristics of this particular Pheophycean algae, because it shows the presence of, or it shows the method like asexual and sexual means of reproduction. Now vegetative reproduction is also observed in this Pheophycean algae, which is generally takes place by the fragmentation. Asexual reproduction is done by the formation of motile zoospores. They are pear-shaped and have two unequal flagella, and it is useful for the locomotion. Whereas sexual reproduction is by formation of motile gametes, which are also biflagellate with two lateral attached flagella. Now sexual reproduction may be oogamous, isogamous and anisogamous. Gametes unite in water or within oogonium and fertilization takes place. So this particular sexual reproduction is done by this particular biflagellated structure or gametes which fuse and fertilization will takes place. So in this way we have discussed the different topics related to Pheophyceae, which includes general characteristics of the Pheophyceae, including the cell, including the habitat. Along with that we have also gone through the reproduction. Thank you.